know that innocent bowl of rice on your plate might have hidden secrets? Did you know rice can actually contain high levels of arsenic? Arsenic is a very dangerous chemical that has been linked to different types of cancer like lung, skin, bladder, and kidney cancer and other health problems. As Joe Rogan said in this video,
but there's even foods that people think are healthy that are not really good for you. Like white rice is better than brown rice.
Yes.
Like people think white rice, like, oh, I'll have brown rice. I'm being healthy. I have brown rice.
It's got to be one of the biggest misconceptions out there.
That fucking stuff, there's arsenic in that.
But it's brown.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's brown.
It looks like grains.
But this
That's all I eat is white rice, yeah.
That shit is terrible for you.
Terrible.
Like there's a reason why Asian cultures for a long time have been getting rid of that outside, that husk.
God, the Japanese got it right with food, I'm telling you.
They did?
Sushi, white rice, seaweed, just all day. Favorite.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of countries that figured it out. We're just not one of them.
arsenic can be found in higher amounts in brown rice. Joe Rogan is right. And since I recommend the brown rice on my channel a lot, I wanted to make this video for you guys and myself and explore who should be concerned about arsenic and reveal the best rice choices from around the world and share the best secrets and cooking techniques that I can share with you guys to keep you guys and myself safe from consuming rice and arsenic in it. So buckle up and join me on this eye-opening video as I explore the rice controversy and separate the fact from fiction. After all, this is what we're all about on this channel. Are you ready? Let's get started. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Seppi and I'm passionate about health, nutrition, weight loss, and living with ADHD. Now, as someone who has personally lost over 50 pounds and understands the challenges of living with ADHD, I'm excited to share all of my experiences, knowledge, and tips with you guys to help you on your own health journey. My videos are all about providing practical, evidence-based information and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to improve your health, optimize your nutrition, manage your weight, and thrive with ADHD. So what is arsenic? We're gonna chat about arsenic, chemical number 33 on periodic table for my chem nerds. It's found in Earth's crust, soil, groundwater, and even in air. But what we're gonna really focus on in this video is the arsenic in soil and groundwater because it can actually find its way into our food chain and end up on our plates, in our rice, right? Since rice is a crop that is often grown in wetlands and it's in a flooded condition, guess what? It can absorb all the arsenic from the soil like a sponge. That's why we're diving into this topic today because we want to make sure we minimize that. Arsenic exists in two forms, organic and inorganic. The organic form is harmless, so we're not really worried about that, but the inorganic form, it can be actually toxic to humans and animals. It's hard to distinguish between the two to find out which one is inorganic or organic in terms of rice, but we can actually learn which ones have arsenic and how we can minimize our usage just in case if the rice contains arsenic and we don't know about it. And sometimes there are different rices that we can check and find out how much arsenic is in them because they are supposed to report it depending on where you get your rice from, and we're going to talk about that later in this video. Arsenic can be found in our drinking water and soil, as I mentioned. If you think about it, we're eating and drinking basically every single day, so we're exposed to arsenic all the time. So if it's in the soil, wouldn't all the plants, fruits, and vegetables contain it? We're going to talk about the arsenic in water and how we can actually avoid that, but right now I want to focus on fruits and vegetables. It turns out that rice and root vegetables like carrots, radishes, and potatoes do contain relatively higher traces of arsenic because of the way they're grown in the soil and they're able to absorb arsenic a lot easier. Arsenic can also be found in marine life and apples, pears, and grapes, mushrooms, and tobacco, but these might be some of them inorganic. Organic depends on where they are. Now, arsenic won't be immediately poisonous to us, so you won't know when you're young, for example, but if you're exposed to arsenic for a long time, over a long period of time, it can be stored in your liver, kidney, lungs, and skin, and it can be accumulated. It's a metalloid, so it can stay there for a long time. And of course, the accumulation of arsenic, it depends on a lot of other things, the dosage, the duration that you're exposed to it, your metabolism, your overall health, so not everyone's affected the same, but the best way to avoid it is to minimize it, and we're going to talk about that in this video. I was initially, to be honest, a little concerned about the arsenic in water. I am kind of still, but I realized that WHO, World Health Organization, has set the maximum of arsenic in drinking water to 10 micrograms per liter. And I personally like to trust them as much as possible and, you know, trust that that's the limit and we can live with that. But, you know, if you have other ways of filtering your water, you know, maybe you can install something to your tap water if you're drinking it, or make sure you buy a different source of filter for your home to make sure that you minimize your exposure to arsenic through drinking water. That's a very good idea, and I've done that already, so I feel really great about that. In general, the arsenic levels found in your urine must not exceed 35 micrograms per gram of creatinine, and in blood 10 micrograms per liter. But since this is not something we get tested for, except if you're involved in a specific research, then we should watch this video and make sure that we can minimize our exposure to arsenic. So since I'm giving you advice on where to find arsenic and we're talking about rice, you should know that rice and rice products such as rice syrups contribute to 50% of exposures of children to arsenic. So my advice is to look through the packaged products that you buy, like cereals, cookies and sweets, granola bars, puddings, crackers, rice cakes, pastas, rice noodles, and anything that has rice syrups in it. We have to be careful and make sure that it doesn't include a lot of those, you know, ingredients in them. But if you're just gonna focus on white rice, you should know that in one sense, absolutely, yes, Joe Rogan is right. Brown rice does contain more arsenic compared to the white rice of the exact same kind. Some sources have actually claimed that removing the outer layer of rice does remove the arsenic, sometimes significantly by almost 80%. So if you're consuming a lot of rice, you should consider using white rice. But since it can still contain arsenic, you should know that contrary to what Joe Rogan thinks, Asians do have the highest level of arsenic in their urine. In the research I found published in NIH, they compared the urine sample of children who didn't consume rice and children who had up to 1.75 cups of rice, and they noticed that the more they consumed rice, the higher the amount of arsenic. And this was done on white rice. I looked into it a little bit more and I found out that they were consuming white rice. These are Asian kids that were really used to having white rice every single day. So it does still have a lot of concentration of arsenic, 3 times more compared to people or children who didn't consume rice at all. So this basically shows that even if you are using white rice, you could be containing and accumulating arsenic in your body, and we need to be careful about that and kind of find ways to minimize that. Basically, if you're like me and you only eat rice once or twice a week, you don't have to worry about it at all. But if you eat rice, especially brown rice, in large amounts every single day, or know someone that does, you should pay close attention or tell them to pay attention to this video, because we need to know how to minimize that. It really depends on what country we get our rice from, how we cook it, and these methods can actually reduce the arsenic in our rice. First of all, we should know that the levels of arsenic doesn't depend on the farming method, so it doesn't matter if your rice is organic or inorganic. Even if you're having organic rice, it could still contain arsenic. So it really depends on your soil, the water that the rice is grown in, and the geographical location, how the soil is in that location. It doesn't really depend on the farming methods that people are using. I always generally suggest buying organic rice to make sure that you're not exposed to a lot of chemicals in general. Organic way of farming is a natural way of farming, so it's always recommended. If you can afford it and if you can find it, definitely go with organic products. It's a lot more healthier. I found a very interesting research published in Arabian Journal that tested 70 samples of different rice from different locations and countries, and it listed all of them in this research. If you're interested, you can actually find the link below in the description. As a ranking, US has the highest arsenic concentration except for California, along with Thai rice. Pakistani rice, Indian rice, and Egyptian rice have the lowest concentration of arsenic. Another study by the Food Safety and Sustainability Center tested 128 samples of basmati, jasmine, and sushi rice, and they combined the data from previous test results from FDA, and they found out that basmati rice from India, Pakistan, or California, and sushi rice from the US were found to have the lowest levels of total inorganic arsenic compared to other types of rice. They found that the rice grown in Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, they have the highest inorganic concentration of arsenic, so it would be better to avoid those and minimize those rices as much as possible. So they recommend you use 4.5 servings of rice per week if the rice is coming from India, Pakistan, and California. But if it's coming from elsewhere, you should minimize it to 1 or 2 servings per week. So this is a recommendation by FDA and the food safety. It's honestly always best, instead of looking at these data, to always look at the source of the specific rice you're consuming. Find a few good sources of rice and kind of switch between them regularly. I buy my rice from Whole Foods. Whole Foods is a store that I truly trust. I know they source their products really well and they're healthy. So when I heard about arsenic, I got worried and I looked into the specific rice that I buy from Whole Foods, and this is what I found on their site. I actually found an interesting chart that represents the level of inorganic arsenic in their rice. If you actually look at this chart, the green line represents the level of inorganic arsenic in brown rice, and the blue line, just slightly above the green line, represents the inorganic arsenic levels in white rice. This clearly shows that even white rice contains arsenic. I was also kind of relieved because basmati and the jasmine rice on this website have the lowest amounts of arsenic, and I was really happy with that because that's what I usually buy. After doing some research, I realized that the best way to cook your rice, brown or white, is the Iranian way. I was so proud. What we do is that we rinse it, we soak it for 15 to 24 hours, then we boil it in a pot of water with a little bit of salt, then we drain it. We drain the water and then we wash the rice again. We transfer the dry rice into the pot and we let it cook with a little bit of water. So this method of cooking is the best way to make sure you remove and minimize the amount of arsenic. But again, keep in mind that you're removing most of the nutrition from the rice as well. Especially if you have white rice and you cook it like this, you basically remove most of the nutrition. If that's your goal, to get the most nutrition out of your rice, at least do it with brown rice and repeat this whole process that I just mentioned with your brown rice, and make sure that you remove most of the arsenic and all the chemicals that is stuck with your rice. So what is my final verdict? I totally believe in the rule of moderation. I believe that all the health issues are caused by food. So if you pay attention and we eat everything in moderation, we don't have to worry about any of that. When it comes down to rice, I personally like a mix of white rice and brown rice, jasmine and basmati, and I switch between them. I get them, it is from California, so it's the lowest level of arsenic. I eat about once, maybe twice per week, a cup per serving, and that's basically it. And I feel healthy, and hopefully this is the way to go, but I know I am minimizing it as much as I can. So to kind of summarize everything, to reduce your exposure to arsenic, I recommend a balanced approach. Incorporate a mix of both grains, brown or white, and then rinse it 2 to 3 minutes before cooking. Cook it in water, remove the water again, and then cook it again in a pot. Personally, I like buckwheat, oats, and different kinds of carbs that you can incorporate in your daily use. And remember, knowledge is power in terms of making informed food choices. By understanding where your rice comes from and how it's processed, you can minimize the potential risk that is caused by arsenic levels in your rice. As always, I encourage you guys to stay curious, stay informed, and make sure that you're making choices that are aligned with your personal health goals. Thank you so much for joining me on this rice-filled adventure, and until next time, remember to savor every bite and embrace the joy of mindful eating. Love you all. Signing off, Seppi. Bye!